Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Becoming Anchored podcast. My name is Laura Deneen. I'm one of your hosts for today, and I'm super thrilled to have our co-host, Lauren Jackson, back after her maternity leave. Welcome, Lauren.
Thanks.
Yes.
Excited to be back.
Same. Our producer, Erin, was like, the OG crew is back, and I couldn't agree more.
Yep.
Sweet.
Uh-huh.
So if you're new to this podcast, we really are about helping you move towards peace with your body, and that means so many different things for so many different people, and so we talk about all things body image on this show. If you're local to the state of Tennessee, we would love to see you through our sister company, Anchored Counseling Company. If you're wanting therapy but you're not local to Tennessee, we encourage you to reach out to someone local to you. So Lauren and I were kind of chatting before today's episode, and one thing that has really been coming up in quite a few of our sessions is this idea of body betrayal. And so today we're going to be talking about what to do when you feel like your body has betrayed you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And maybe it's helpful too for us to kind of start out by talking about what that maybe even means, or what that could possibly mean for people. Like what does it mean when it maybe feels like your body's betrayed you?
Yeah, I mean, so common themes that I hear around this topic, and just for the record, let me back up for a second. A lot of clients are not coming in with that language of like body betrayal. That's somewhere that maybe we get over time as more sessions evolve.
Right.
And we kind of get curious of like, does it feel like your body might be betraying you, or does it feel like you're being abandoned? And then the client gets to say what feels true for their experience. But yeah, I mean, body betrayal, when I think of that, I mean, the word betrayal is such a big word and can evoke such emotionality, I think. But things that might kind of fall under that umbrella, I mean, things that come to mind for me are chronic pain, chronic illness, fertility at large or infertility,
Yep.
medical concerns, medical diagnoses, which I feel like could fall under the umbrella of chronic illness.
Yeah, and I think that can look like maybe like autoimmune type of conditions. I think that can feel very much so like inside our bodies, and then I think it can be like skin conditions, things that maybe then can show up like externally that maybe feel like impact our image. So I think that falls under the medical piece too, or the chronic illness or chronic pain.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be on a spectrum too of like feeling like your body's not cooperating with you all the way to the extent of my body has betrayed me. Which
Totally.
I think a lot of people would resonate with, like, their body's not cooperating, whether, like, you have little kids and you feel like you can't escape sickness throughout the winter, whatever it might be, right? Just that frustration towards self, towards your body. And again, I think it's on a continuum of how much distress that causes you, how life interfering that feels to you, how much support you do or don't have around these experiences. So there's lots of factors that go into this concept of body betrayal.
Yeah, and then just in our diet culture climate, if you will, I think another way that probably a lot of different people, women, can identify with this idea of body betrayal. My body's not cooperating, my body's not doing the right thing, whatever language, right, is maybe when our weight fluctuates or changes or shifts and we don't want it to. And that can feel distressing. It can feel like our body is against us.
Yeah.
So that feels important to name, just with, all of the body image things and topics that we talk about on here, and the body image like spectrum, and just moving towards acceptance. And how do we do that when we feel like our body isn't working with us, or when our body is betraying us? Yeah.
Yeah, one comment that I hear quite frequently, just specifically pertaining to like the diet culture piece that you mentioned, is like, but Laura, my friend eats so and so or XYZ and her body looks this way. So it feels like there's almost like a injustice or how unfair it is that this person I know is able to eat this way, but I'm not. How is that? Kind of that unspoken why question that we hear a lot in the therapy space, whether it's pertaining to body image or other sorts of pain and suffering. So yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed in my sessions, and you know, with that comes acknowledgement of that pain, and then kind of like you're talking about, like, what do we do next as therapists? I mean, my first thought here is to acknowledge the pain and the grief that is associated with it. I had a counselor back in the day that talked about all therapy being grief therapy, and I've said that quite often in the past 6 months. I know you've heard me say it around the office, and I do agree with that, really, in so many ways, because it's really unrealistic for us to look at someone who has suffered deeply in the context of their body, whether it's body image or pain or fertility or whatever, and to just be like, oh, well, let's just accept where you're at, right? That's not going to work, and that person probably isn't going to come back to therapy because it's bad therapy and it's ineffective therapy. So I think when we're talking about this idea of betrayal, one of the first things that we do within the therapy space is acknowledgement of the pain, acknowledgement of the suffering that someone has been through, so that we can hopefully move through that.
Right. Yeah, because if we just only stay in, like, the betrayal place, like my body is betraying me, and that's it, then we can find ourselves moving to shame. So then there's something wrong with me, right? There's something wrong with my body. And we know that change can't happen where shame exists. And so if all therapy is grief therapy, in whatever form or fashion that takes, then that means that we have to give space to the pain so that we can ensure that, like, the shame isn't going to come in and try and take over and try and run the show. Because, like I said, we can't change, we can't make effective change where shame exists.
Yeah, and there's like that cyclical nature once we start entering into toxic shame, of feeling some helplessness, discouragement, maybe even some hopelessness there. So I fully agree with you there. Yeah, and I mean, I think one of the most important things that we can start with in this realm of body betrayal is, hey client, hey friend, hey colleague, I see you in that. Tell me your story. Because I think a lot of people are really tired of being misbelieved, which I don't know if that's a word or not, but of not being believed around their symptomology, of some of the positive psychology that kind of happens around their symptomology, like, oh, it'll get better in time, or have you tried XYZ, or specifically pertaining to the fertility, it's like, oh, well, you just have to, like, wait longer, you'll get pregnant soon. So there's all sorts of difficult experiences that our clients have had around this body betrayal concept, and our job is to, like, attune to that pain first and foremost, and let them know there's no rush in explaining their story or in sharing about these possibly traumatic experiences they've had around their body. And I think a lot of times people just want to be heard in that space. And I'll share, because I think I've talked about my chronic migraines before. My migraines are really well managed compared to, like, my late 20s. There was definitely, like, a spike there when they weren't, and I feel really thankful for some great medicine and great doctors. And it is really unhelpful when people are like, have you tried lowering your stress, or have you tried taking Advil? And I'm like, no, I haven't thought about those things, right? And that's just a small example of what a client might be bringing in to the session pertaining to the betrayal piece. And our job is to like hear it, attune to the pain, validate the pain before we can even kind of talk about moving forward and what to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think with anything, we're trying to help the client slow down and acknowledge what actually is going on, whether that is, the pain or whatever other emotions are under there. Because where we find ourselves in distress, we can try and move away from it really quickly, or try and fix it, or I gotta fix my body. I've got to fix what's going on. And we're trying to slow things down and help them acknowledge the pain that they are maybe currently in, or that they have experienced. And then, we kind of get curious about what to do next with that. I think when a client is able to get to a place of identifying the body betrayal piece and the grief of that, like the body grief that is accompanied with that, because that's usually, I think, where some of this body betrayal is rooted in, is actually a loss of something, like a loss of expectation of how I think my body should function, or how I think my body should work. And I think being able to identify that would be part of some next steps, right? Being able to identify where the loss is.
Yeah, and I think loss is such a important word to talk about here, because it is a loss, right? Whether it's a loss of energy, or a loss of time, or a loss of resources, maybe financial resources, and a loss of hope, maybe. There's so many ways that someone can experience that loss, and our job as therapists is to really start to point out patterns. So, when we're talking about the pain of body betrayal, and when we're attuning to someone and hearing their story with that, we want to gently notice, like, hey, does this person minimize their experience? Do they try to fix it? Do they try to rush through it? That I can do that when I'm in pain. Do they invalidate themselves because they've been invalidated for years on end? So what is their pattern, even looking at like their own betrayal, right? Their own body's betrayal, of like, how do they respond to that? And what might me do instead that actually will support them in the long run in a better way?
Yeah.
Because we all respond to painful things in different ways, and so that can be part of moving through that grief work too, is just noticing a tendency to do some of those things. Yeah. I think one of the hard pieces too, when we're talking about body betrayal, is like, and our job as therapists is not to have like answers or advice, but like that is something that oftentimes people want. Of like, Laura, I just wish I knew when I was going to get pregnant. Or I just wish I understood why I have this diagnosis and my sibling, aunt, friend doesn't. There's such a yearning for that, like, certainty, for that full understanding. And I think that's part of the work too, is like, how do we enter into a place of compassion that desire is there? While I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh yeah, let me provide you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 answers to your questions, because there really aren't answers to those questions a lot of times that our clients ask. Have you found that too?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, with anything, right? Not just body, or just the uncertainties with our body. There's a concept in ACT, acceptance commitment therapy, that I really love. I'm gonna mess it up. It's like self as context versus self as content. Is actually the all the C's confuse me, but it's this idea that there's something about the core of us that doesn't change, like our authentic core self. So that's our self as context. Self as context. And then all of the things about us that do change is this idea of like, or as self as content. And that can be really hard for us as humans. Like that not just, things around us, our environment, relationships, people, day-to-day things that change. And I think we can like kind of make sense of that. But I think it can be really hard for us, especially in our culture, that our selves can change day to day, and I think that includes our bodies and our how we feel physically, how we look one day to the next day, and we're such creatures of wanting and reaching for predictability and consistency and the sameness all the time, that can just be a really distressing experience, especially when it feels like it goes against like cultural norms, especially when it feels like it threatens our acceptance and our like need to be loved and seen and whatever. And I think ultimately I feel like what we're talking about comes down to that. How does this threaten my some of my fundamental needs as like a human to be accepted and seen and all the things. And so sometimes we can find, instead of getting down to those roots, what we do day to day, where we see our bodies are changing or our experiences are changing, is we try and reach for that consistency again, or we try and create that predictability again, and that can get us in a cycle that doesn't move us anywhere, and that again creates shame. Like, why is my body continuing to do the thing I don't want it to do, or feel the way I don't want it to feel, even though I'm trying to change that. And ultimately, like, maybe what's going on at a deeper level is a fear of like, okay, well, if my body does change, or my body doesn't function the way it's supposed to, or I think it's supposed to, then I might not be accepted, I might not be loved, I might not make it, I might not, whatever.
There's some of those like really, really deep-seated big fears.
Sure.
That I think a lot of humanity has and experiences, but it's so much easier, I think, like you said, to stay in the content, to stay on the surface.
Right.
Versus really asking yourself what this actually is about.
Totally. And I think that's the long-term work, right, that we do with our clients. And I think that can be really beneficial for us to just, even in our day-to-day lives, check in with ourselves around.
Totally.
Right.
You mentioned something. I had another supervisor who talks a lot about this, and I think she came in and did a training for the team, but she talks a lot about our bodies being for us.
Yeah.
Not against us. And even that concept can be quite difficult to embrace, especially if you feel that you have body betrayal of some kind. And so even asking someone, I think, how that lands with them, like in what ways do you feel that your body has let you down? In what ways have you maybe perpetuated disconnection from your body? And that can just be an interesting kind of concept to explore with our clients, and even in my own story. Right? Like looking at some of those big questions. I think too, just as we're talking about like practical takeaways too from this episode, looking at the support that you have around body betrayal, right? Like, do you have people in your life that believe your story, that believe you, that are advocates, right, for you, even through some of maybe chronic pain, infertility, whatever your experience is? Community is so essential to us as humans, so that would be just a big piece that I would be talking to a client about, especially once they've identified body betrayal, is that sense of community and belongingness through some of this pain. I think that's really important. Space for grief. which can happen within the therapy room. It can happen through other types of rituals like walks in nature, or writing a letter to your body. Any other kind of practical things that you can think of that might help someone kind of maybe work through some of their body's betrayal?
Yeah. I would be curious with my clients around as we're moving through the process of grief and kind of identifying where those losses are, and what are these expectations I've had of my body that I don't feel like it's meeting anymore, and what does that say about me, and what do I believe about myself, and all of the things. I would wonder, does betrayal still feel like the right word? Right. Does it still feel like that is how you identify with what you're experiencing in your body? Because even though I think a lot of people would get to a place where they identify with, I feel like my body, that's it. I feel like my body's betraying me. I think that even through the work of that, we might notice that we soften to what actually is going on, because that word betrayal can also hold a sense of shame, right?
Or maybe even hold us back.
Right, hold us back. Like you said earlier, it totally is everything's a spectrum. Like it's not black and white, right? Everything is, all in between. And so yeah, I would just want to know and be curious and continue to explore with my client how does that language need to change to feel like it fits with where they're at in their journey, around what they're grieving with their body.
Yeah, that's great.
Because even when we can name, like, now, having 2 kids and my back's never going to be the same. And I'm like, personally, like I have a very hard time getting up off the floor. And that is something that can feel really sad to me. So I'm getting older. I'm not old by any means, but my body is just so changing and has been through so much. And if I only live in this place of it's, woe is my back, and how is this gonna hinder me the rest of my life? And I think that's if that's where you're at, that's an important place to be, and identify and name and feel and all the things. But if I also believe that my body's for me, my body is always has my best interest, my body's always trying to keep me safe, all of that, if I believe that, then I have to believe that my body's trying to communicate something to me when my lower back is hurting and I'm getting up off the floor and it hurts really bad. And what does that mean? And what is it telling me? And how do I need to take care of it? And what all could my body possibly be doing right now to protect the pain that it's feeling? To protect me from the pain that it's feeling.
Yeah.
So
there's so much compassion in these questions that I hear.
Totally. Yeah. Yes. How do we move towards more compassion? About what our body is going through or feeling or what we're experiencing. Yeah.
We all know that we always close with homework and an affirmation. Lauren, would you like to do one or both of those?
Yeah, I'll do a homework thought or assignment or something for you to take with you. Maybe identifying where some areas that I notice I feel like my body's betrayed me. What are the grief pieces that accompany that in that betrayal, and where can I practice some compassion towards those areas.
Yeah, I love it. And then an affirmation.
Bless you.
Bless me. It's springtime here in Nashville, so we've got all the trees blooming and everything. But yeah, an affirmation, I think that my body is for me.
Yeah.
And just holding that maybe as you go about your day today after listening to this podcast. We so appreciate all of our listeners. Thank you so much for being here today. It's a joy having Lauren back on the show. She's so dear to me, and I hope you all take good care of yourselves. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.